doing there? Here we go. We got the already done these pads. I'm going to do these ones right here, and all I've done is pin it and put 2 washers to make it level. And I'll get my solder and put it right here and here. Get my iron ready. Sec here. And all I'm going to do is a little bit there and solder right here. Just like that. And solder the other end right over here. Just like that. Then what I'll do is remove the pins. Remove the washers, I don't need them anymore. And what I could do is solder the back side here and just add a little flux. Oops, get some solder. Come back here. Let me pick this up. Let me do it like this. I'm sorry, folks. So I'll come from getting closer. Okay, we'll come on like that. And see that part right there? We'll solder that. And I'll just get a little right there and go in between. All I'm doing is just getting solder there. So you can see right about here. And that's pretty much it. And what you can do also is get it on the underside as well if you'd like. This one I kind of overlapped. I didn't make it flush like this one. And I'll put just like that. And I just got some solder underneath there. That's to make sure it's secured. And that's your pad there. So you get the solder underneath there. That's what you want. And you can clean this up too with, if you don't want any excess, you get some of this no clean wick, or you could even use an old braid, and what this does is just cleans the excess solder off if you don't want all that excess solder. Just like that. That cleans it off. There you go. And, of course you could sand it off too, but so that's how you put your body pads on. You just level them out. Of course this one's a little bit thicker, as you can see. Then I'll round these out with a Dremel and do the other side, and that's your body mounts right there. The guide part now on this build. Now this is square brass 8264. This is what I use on the Slotting Plus guides, and you could also use the tube size. I believe it's 8129. I'm going to go across the camera here so I can grab it. Excuse me. So you have 8129, which also this will fit right in there as well. So there's 2 ways you could do it. You can make the hole 3/16 in diameter for this piece of 8264, or you can make it 9/64 size so that this will slip right over it as well perfectly, as you can see right there. Now I do have to trim it, of course. I'll have to round it out so this way when it turns it doesn't interfere because it's squared off. And then again, if you have the brass tube, you'd have to actually make the hole the size of what the brass tube is, which is 3/16. And that's possible. You have to do it very carefully and you know, take your time. Or you could get a spigot guide, which is the 3.55 millimeter, I believe it is, and then you use a WRP guide holder plate, which is on Slot Car Corner. And I have a spigot guide here, just like this right here. Here's the spigot guide. I don't think this is the right size, but let me check, because when I ordered it, I didn't really look at the size. So here's the spigot, and that is not it. So again, I'd order this. You do want the 3.551, I think it is, spigot, and it'll fit this Slotting Plus guide, I believe. And I could be wrong. I'd have to double check, but of course this is 9/64 in diameter, so that's what the hole we drilled. So anyways, here's the thing. If you don't have a drill press, you could do this. So what I've done is I've made one as a guide. So I pre-drilled this and got it really square and perfect. You know, I did it by eyeball, and as you can see, it's pretty spot on. You'll have to do a few, maybe make a mistake or here and there. And what I do is I get the piece that I'm going to drill, and I put it on this little kind of like mini vise. Say I have a blank here, and I tighten this up. And you can get this from Amazon. This is something really inexpensive. And then you could either use a pin vise, which will take you more time to do that, to, you know, get it through, or you could use a drill. Now if you use a drill, keep in mind, use the slowest speed. Let me set that in there. Use the slowest speed that's possible, because what you want to do is you're making your own little drill press here. And when you have the drill, you want to set it down, make sure to get it straight as possible. You can see that. And just kind of go super slow. With a little pressure, you will feel it go through. And as soon as you go through the first part, because it's like a channel, remove it and check your hole. If it looks good, just resume. Go real smooth, you know, slowly until it goes through real nice and easy. You don't want to put too much pressure or wobble it, or you're gonna oblong the hole, or, you know, elongate it. It takes time and practice, but if you don't have a drill press, Harbor Freight does sell a drill press. I just don't have the money for you. But this is kind of like a little mini drill press. And again, you can get a cheap drill. This is Milwaukee, so I mean, you don't need anything super expensive. You're just drilling small brass. Or if you want to sit there with a pin vise, you can too. And take your time. That takes a little bit more time, a little pressure to do that. And then you could make your hole pretty good there. And I saved this piece as like a template. And I'll put it in my little, you know, spot there with my how would you say, my fabrication drawer. Leave my drill bit in there, and I have it in there for another day to make another one. And then what you'll do is you will round this out so that this will swivel around it. And all you do is get a Dremel, important tool, and my safety glasses on. Watch my fingers, and you're just going to kind of trim it. You're just cutting the edges off of it. You have to do this a few times. Hope you can see that on camera, because my other camera's charging. You're going to round it off. What you're doing is making it round enough so that this will, I'll have to cut quite a bit off actually. So this will spin around in between here, and you don't want no interference when this thing, because it'll get stuck. So what you do is, you know, just keep going at it. Again, this will get warm, so take a break if it starts getting warm. Trim it down. There's got brass powder everywhere. You just keep working it until you get it to where it will clear. See how that's gone in there now? Now it's tucked in there. Now you have to just work on rounding the edges, because now it won't turn on there. And again, you're just going to keep working it. You know, watch your fingers too, man, because you get your fingers got, you know, chopped off. Oh, and see, that's what happens. My Dremel wheel broke. That's why I wear safety glasses. And you're just going to keep working. See, now it's starting to get some movement. And you're going to have to trim it quite a bit. I have a better Dremel, well, not a better one, just a little bit more high-powered one where I could cut this down because I'm not cutting it down because I'm trying to do it on camera. And you're going to just shave this down to where it's round it nicely so that this will swivel nicely on here, and there'll be no edges or anything to interfere with the front part of the guide, which is where the your braid and leads wires go. So this will spin nicely. And then you could cut this off and trim it as you go, or however you need to shim it. You know, you want to check that out, of course, too, when you set up your car. But this will need a little bit more work, or you could get a little file if you want. Get a file if you don't feel like sitting there messing with the Dremel, and you can file it down and just take your time filing it down if you want to. You don't have to use that Dremel if you don't want to, and just like that. It'll cut it down pretty good, just as with a file. And you can see how I'm rounding that out. You check the other side, make sure they're even. Want to have them the same way. Just working at it, and just keep checking it. See, a little bit more. Gonna need quite a bit more here to cut these edges down, but you're just gonna keep working it until you get the guide to move around easily in here, because you don't want it to be stuck. As you say, you want this to be nice and free and move easily. So that's that part. I'll go ahead and trim this down, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's all done. Be right back. Okay, we are back, and we have completed with rounding this piece right here, as you can see. See how I took this down and made it nice and round, and now what you have is that it fits in the guide nice and perfectly. See how it swivels, no corners are grabbing it, nice and smooth, and you want your guide to move freely. So I made myself a little guide holder out of this 8264 brass and a 964 drill bit. The key is to get it nice and centered, and like I said, if you don't have a drill press, you could use those tools that I showed you in the previous step, and it's gonna take you time. Sometimes it's a hit and miss, sometimes you make a mistake, but you get a nice big strip of brass, and you don't need a really long piece of of 8264 to make your guide. So that's what I do with this. I've done it on a few of the 132nd builds. I didn't use the slotting guide, slotting plus guides too much, but at first I didn't like them, but I've grown to like them, because now I could kind of have more experience with trying to install them. I do like a commercial guide. I like that there's guide holder plates too, but you can use the WRP guide plate holder and the spigot 3.55 millimeter spigot. I believe it's for this. I have to double check. I can't remember. That should be the size you should be able to use for this. I'll have to verify that. If there's a mistake, there'll be a text in this video saying wrong one. But I'm gonna consult my my good friend and see if I got the right information, just to make sure I'm passing it on to you. But here's one way of doing it, and then again you can make the 3/16 hole. It'd be pretty close. I've done it, and then you could stick the 8129, I think it is, tubing, which is the same size as this. That should be the correct size. And then you could have like a shoulder on it too. You have the piece of the tubing sticking out. But this could be cut down, and then you could check your shim fitment and stuff. That it just depends how you set the guide on the car. But you don't. Harry has pointed out you don't want to really stack shims. It's not really good to be stacking shims because it introduces slop, and then you just have a poorly performing car. And I did that on one car. It does okay, but it does affect it because I have them kind of stacked like about that high, I think, and that's too much. So you learn as you go. But for this part, you want that just free, move nice and freely. So you got to remember, you could use a file or use a little Dremel and use that little mini kind of like holder that's kind of like a drill press holder, and use a drill and a drill bit and make this hole. So that's it from for now. We'll go on to the next step on putting on the car. Welcome back to Area 51 Raceway, and here we have the chassis completed and painted along with the wheels, and we have the body. The paint I used is the Createx water base, and that's a purple pearl. What I did to that is added a little white pearl and some fluorescent to it. You probably really can't see it unless you really look at it very well. There may be a teeny bit of fluorescent in there. I was just experimenting. But for the most part, it's purple pearl. Came out pretty good. I painted my chassis green to give it this, alien type look. This car is going to be the Area 51 Special, and I got some stuff coming for it to make it appear that way. So I painted my wheels, and I mounted them and glued them on, so all I need to do is true them. And the chassis, as you can see, I went with the guide with the 8264 square brass tube 1/8 by 1/4, and all I did was drill some holes on the side of it for the 504 wire, and the 504 wire is the K&S number, and that's 62 thousandths. And what I did was I got a drill bit, a 5/64 inch drill bit, and all I did was just drill to the side with a pin vise, cut them the size, put them through as a support, and just soldered them to the wire part of the chassis. Now, again, I didn't do this on camera because I was experimenting, and again, you guys need to jump in there and just start experimenting. It's brass. If you screw it up, you could unsolder it and redo it again, and people need to not be afraid to do stuff. And that's what I did. Now, this is the first time I've done this kind of chassis where you use the wire and you bend it up like that, like Harry did. He calls it a rail job. First time I did this one. So this is new to me. So it doesn't mean you cannot do it. But this is the end result after being painted, and I have all the parts for it. And I'm just letting the paint, cure for that body right there. And then I'm going to put some special decals on it, and then I'm going to clear it. Now, going back to the painting, and I want to let you guys know that little paintbrush that I bought that's battery operated is an excellent airbrush. And I mean, it could turn a novice, which I am a novice still, to painting a car to make it look fantastic. And it's all about mixing the paint correctly and just spraying it correctly. And that little airbrush is really wonderful. And it works best with the Createx paints that you get from Hobby Lobby. You mix it right and everything, and you get yourself a fabulous paint job. I mean, that thing looks pretty good. And when I have clear for it, when I'm done doing everything, I'm going to clear that. So I always was kind of opposed to water-based paints because I never really cared for them too much because I like the lacquer stuff. But I'm actually beginning to like this more because it is easy cleanup. Nothing against, again, like I said, lacquer. I like lacquer too in spray cans. But this actually came out pretty good, and I'm pretty happy with the results. And I just like it that I have a portable airbrush and I could just charge it up and clean it up and then reuse it again. It's just nice to have something portable instead of having a big tank and stuff and air compressor and all that stuff. I'm not doing anything that ridiculous to really need anything like that. So I think it's convenient to just have something that portability. And I painted this outside in the yard. I didn't use a paint booth. I mean, I just sprayed it out there. It wasn't windy, and that's how it came out. It looks really good in the sun because you can see the pearl and everything. So it's going to be a cool looking car once I get done. And again, the colors are more toward the, the alien theme. And you can see I got my new little guy there. I'm going to call Alf now. There's Alf. Alf stands for, and if you guys remember the 80s show with Alf, Alien Life Form. So that's my new buddy over there. So I'm just here, again, just I didn't really go over, putting the guide on and stuff. I need you guys to actually just take a dive and take a chance and do it yourself. I've had plenty of videos on, doing the other builds, and you have to, it's a learning curve, like I said. You find out as you go along the way, and you can't be afraid. And again, if it doesn't come out right, you can unsolder it. And again, this took me a little, little time to get in there, and it came out fine. And then there's your body pads, and it sits flat, as you can see, nice and flush, flat. It's level because I used the washers to level the front axle when I had the wheels on. So it's ready to go, and it sits fine. It doesn't sit real low or nothing. It sits good. There's enough clearance underneath. Enough clearance, as my good friend Harry says. So there's enough room up there for, not able to be dragging on a wood track or nothing. So this car is gonna, when we get it all completed, it's gonna be pretty cool looking. Once I get done with it, it's been a fun build so far, doing this type of work here with bending the wire and soldering. I like it. I like that a lot. I think I'm gonna do a 1/25th scale version of this kind of design, which we call the rail job, because that's what it is, a rail job. So I just wanted to show this off to you and tell you, look forward to more videos. I'll do some of it when assembling it. And that's it. You guys take care, and as always, have fun racing.